Well, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks for clicking on to today's edition of VOGAN'S Views in the USA. Seems for the past, good week now, we've been talking about the prospects for a big East Coast storm. Will it happen? Won't it happen? Is the hype going to be very similar just to the past winter where we've seen these things taking place? The models painting a big storm wrapping up on the East Coast. Certainly over the past 24 hours now, we're starting to see a convergence with all the models. The GFS had a cold front pushing in, the precipitation in and out very sharply, and missing those drought areas of the mid-Atlantic and up into the northeast. It looks as if it's going to be a system now that we're going to see that cold front push in and out, but the storm system itself is going to wrap around and build off basically the mid-Atlantic coast and wrap around, and we're going to see a much more pronounced precipitation event, both in the terms of snowfall, anywhere from eastern Virginia, I believe, right up through the I-95 corridor. Big cities, DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Trenton, Newark, New York City, Hartford, Providence, Boston, all could see a 1 to 3 inch precipitation of rain, that is. But it's certainly going to be also a windy event as well as the system starts to bomb out off the New Jersey coastline. Could be looking at 50 to 60 mile an hour onshore winds, especially over New England and up around that area. And as well as that, folks, we could be looking at a big snow event from the mountains of West Virginia up through western Pennsylvania and into western New York. So the Catskills, the Adirondack Mountains could be seen 3 to 6 inches quite widely, and perhaps some locally 12 to 18 inches could be, in areas that are susceptible to upslope, the orographic lift. As well as that, folks, I want to point out that we need to pay attention to the track. It could go either way. It could be just slightly off the coast of New Jersey and Long Island, or it could be to the west over central and western parts of Jersey, up through the western, say for example, just west of Newark and Hoboken, New Jersey. It's all defined around where that track is. This is actually the 5-day precipitation model of the GFS. You can see here all over the eastern flank of the country, big precipitation amounts, and I think really anywhere from eastern Virginia up through the Delmarva, New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, including Philadelphia, and up through the tri-state area, southern New York, into the parts of southern New England. You could be talking about even 2 to 4 inch locally amounts of rainfall. And as well as that, like I said to you, as this system starts to wrap up, you start to pull in colder air from Ontario. You could be looking at some big snowfall amounts up the Appalachian Mountains and into parts of New England as well. It is going to be a prolific system, that's for sure. Quite an interesting system. What's also interesting is the fact that we look back at October, that big storm, these two storms, folks, October, and if this one materializes, could be the two biggest storms that we see back-to-back bookend systems, and the winter really not seeing anything in a big way at all. But it's certainly looking very, very promising indeed as the models, the GFS, the NAM, the ECMWF are all starting to converge over the same scenario here. It's really just a couple of days ago that we're all over the place. Today, it looks as if it's going to start to paint a much brighter picture in terms of what the precipitation is going to be. This is off the Hydro Meteorological Prediction Centre website. This is off NOAA. And that's quite a tongue twister, isn't it? But you can see here, this is actually off the NOAA website here. And this is their interpretation of events over today, Saturday and into Sunday. You notice here the cold front over the Midwest through, basically there's an area of low pressure sitting over Chicago, up over New England, and one down over Texas as well. This cold front is going to start to slide towards the east. As it does so, we need to watch out for severe weather down across Florida in particular. Heavy rains across the drought-stricken areas of the southeast. We need to see some big rains over here, folks. It's a multi-year drought, especially centered over South Georgia in particular. But if I move along here the cursor to tomorrow, there's your severe weather threat from Orlando right down to Key West in Florida. Watch out, especially in the afternoon, as the sun starts to warm that lower atmosphere. we could be starting to see some of those storms turn frisky indeed in the afternoon. Gusty winds, perhaps even the odd isolated tornado, although I don't think the tornado aspect of these severe storms is a big deal at all. It's more gusty winds, a large hail, and of course local flooding as well. But you can see here the cold front starting to push more towards the east coast, the coastal plain, and it's certainly around this region here that we're going to see the development of that low, and it's going to then march up the east coast. As it does so, it's going to start to interact with colder air. Therefore, we're going to be seeing those snows start to kick up on the backside of that cold front, the wraparound effect, and it will be quite interesting to watch. This is by Sunday afternoon. You notice here the highlighted areas for heavy snow from from up across the western part of Maine. So we could be talking about 1 to 3 inches, very torrential rain across eastern parts of Maine, while on the backside up in the mountainous region of the west, could be talking about some big heavy snowfall amounts, and with strong winds. Don't be surprised if we see low visibility, even blizzard conditions, and that will extend that snow threat right down through the Adirondack Mountains, through the Catskills, through the central and west Virginia mountains, Pennsylvania, down through Virginia. We could be looking at a big snow event. But certainly keep paying attention to this, folks. As well as that, we've got some tremendous heat building over the western part of the country. I've highlighted for the past several days now 90s in the LA Basin down through San Diego, up and down the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys, both Salt Lake City and Denver. This is by early next week, by the way, not the weekend. We're going to be seeing warm conditions at the weekend, but it looks as if the ECMWF in particular is pointing to a really explosive ridge into next week. We could be looking at 90s close to the Wyoming and Montana border. Billings, Montana, for example, could get close to 90 degrees. Certainly for Salt Lake City and Denver. We're also looking at 100s for both Phoenix, Tucson, Phoenix, Palm Springs, Las Vegas. You folks could all be enjoying some hot 100 degree heat by early next week, and even Death Valley, I reckon we could be talking over 110 by early next week. So yeah, summer's arriving across the west. Big storm over the eastern flank of the country. Keep checking back, and I'll keep you up to date. Hope you have a great weekend, folks. Bye-bye.